one. Race one, love one, people one. Too many things that's causing one to forget about the main cause.
All right, hello, and welcome back to Evolutionary Entrepreneurs 2015 for our keynote interview with Neale Walsch. We are dedicated, as you know, to bringing you 3 days of non-conventional, out-of-the-box business wisdom from the masters of self-growth so that you can really build from the inside out and from your state of beingness. Your
Can I ask you a question at the outset?
impact and your income. Absolutely.
I know we're already on the air, but I have to ask you a question. If this is about masters of self-growth, what am I doing on the program?
That's a really good question. What are you doing here?
Because I'm not a master of self-growth, or nor am I a master of anything. I'm just a regular, ordinary person who had an extraordinary experience, and I would never let myself be described as a master of anything.
Okay, well, let's set the record straight right now then. We're not with masters in this moment, but we're with people that Sage Levine has chosen as her perception of masterful at ways of being in the world. Thanks.
Well, I'm going to allow that.
Thank you for stopping me, Neale. I love that you did. And I'm just so honored to dive in with you. You're one of my favorite men on the planet. And as I've mentioned to you before, after my marriage ended a few years ago, I don't know what I would have done without the Conversation with God's series. It helped me find the place in me that knew I could keep going, and I'm so grateful for you and your presence and all of what you've been through to make you the man that you are today.
Well, I'm only glad that some little thing I may have done in my life has brought benefit to you. And I want to, just for your viewers to really know, I didn't mean to interrupt you inappropriately, but truly, all kidding aside, I feel a little uncomfortable. I've had an experience that everyone has. The Conversations with God experience is something that's universal to every human being on the planet. I simply happened to keep a record of it, and I wrote it down. I was I guess, clever enough, one might say, to send it to a publisher and see what might happen with it. But I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm in any way different, other than, larger than, bigger than, or more masterful than anybody else. Because, in fact, the truth is, the key to all that has been given me is that it's available to everybody, and that everyone is now receiving these communications from the divine. We're simply calling them something else. We call them women's intuition, or a stroke of genius, or a bit of good luck, or serendipity, or coincidence, or whatever we want to call these communications we're receiving about what to do next and how to accomplish it. We're calling those things by other names because we don't want to be marginalized. We don't want to be ridiculed. We don't want to be, so we give them different names. But it drives to the heart of a larger question, which is this: from whence cometh inspiration? From whence cometh creativity? When we're ready to paint a picture or create an overture for a play, or for that matter, draw up a business plan. Where does that creativity come from? What's the source of that?
Yeah.
If we think the source is our own mind, that our own finite mind is coming up with these brilliant ideas and these brilliant conceptions, we probably have misunderstood the nature of life itself. But if we're prepared to declare, if we're prepared to at least hold the thought that it's possible, that these brilliant insights come to us from a source that's larger than our finite self, I think we're on the track to tapping into a field of energy that can change the world. Certainly it can change our lives.
And that humility that you bring around, like, just you channeling, God, wisdom, is the come from place that I continually, ask to return to in my prayers every morning. And my clients and I pray at the beginning of a lot of our calls. And, it's one of the reasons I asked you to be here. I just want to remind those of you who are with us live and listening to the replay to go ahead and click on the chat link below and join us for the conversation so that we can really sort of take an ongoing note guide of the wisdom that gets shared today, and just whatever you are taking away from this conversation to use in in your path. Jot it down over there so that we can get to know each other. The folks on this series listening are just some of the most incredible folks on the planet in my heart and in my mind. And I just want to introduce you properly, Neale, for those of you who may want to know a few more details about Neale. He's a modern day spiritual messenger whose words continue to touch millions around the world in profound ways. And Neale's spent the majority of his life thriving professionally, but also searching for spiritual meaning. And now his Conversation with God series is, very, very famous all around the world. It's been translated into 37 languages. He's written 29 books on spirituality. And, the Conversations with God series have really shifted, as all of you know, the spiritual paradigms around the globe, and really to deal with all of the enormous response to his writings. Neale has launched many projects that you can find out about on his website, the Conversations with God Foundation. He has support for parents. He has the humanities team. So you can plug in for more support over there on his website. And, really wherever Neale has gone around the globe, his work has taken him from the steps of Machu Picchu in Peru to the Shinto shrines of Japan, from South Africa to the Netherlands, everywhere that he's gone. Neale, I know that you have experienced a hunger among people to really understand the life of which God has allowed them to live and how to bring more peace and harmony to the world. And Neale, you now live in your home in Oregon with your wife, Em, and she's an amazing poet. And the two of you continue to travel and just live such a beautiful life that inspires me as an entrepreneur growing in my message to really share your message with the world with such absolute dedication.
Well, that's a very nice introduction. Thank you. I see that you have received all of the public relations material sent by my publicist. She's doing a very good job, but she paints a picture of me that I'm wondering how I can step into. I have done many of those things for sure, but I want people to really be clear that it just comes from a place of really, really wanting at some level to make it possible for everyone who my life touches to move closer to the experience that I have had and to move closer to their own experience of what I call God. Whatever word we want to use, God, Yahweh, Jehovah, Brahman, Allah, or simply life, energy, freedom. There is an essence in the universe that we all agree on. My friend, a large number of people, the vast majority of people, I think it's about 70% of the people in the world agree that there is something, a higher power, something larger than us. We may not understand it, we may not all agree with what it is or how it works, but a huge number of us, a vast majority, do agree that it exists. So the secret is how to use that, how to connect with that power, how to use that and how to bring it into our lives in a way that makes sense to our soul as well as to our heart and to our mind. And that's really what I've been trying to do these past 20 years as I go around the world, because I see such sadness and such incompleteness in the lives of so many people. And I just know that it doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes it is. It has been that way in my life too. So I'm not making anybody wrong if it happens to be that way, but it doesn't have to be that way. And if you had that kind of a gift given to you, all you want to do is share it with as many people as possible as fast as you can. So really, if I were writing my own introduction, if I was my own public relations firm, I would just say Neale Donald Walsch had a wonderful experience of God and wants to share it with as many people as fast as he can. 2-sentence introduction, because that's really what I'm up to.
It's beautiful, and it really speaks to, I think, the disconnect that happens when we start to feel we have a message for the world. And so many of my clients and so many of our listeners are on this path of knowing that they're meant to be of service, and yet they're still in their own evolution. We are still in our own evolution. Some of us are still very much in our own transformation. And for some of us, maybe we haven't found it. We haven't found our way to the other side of that transformation all the way yet. And it can be so vulnerable to start to get out in the world and be of service when we're still working within ourselves to find what's true and to find solid ground. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, but that's the best time to do it.
Right,
the best time to do it is when we're in our own process. Because number one, if you have the imagination that someday your process is going to end, that's never going to happen. So if you're waiting for yourself to be at that place where I've got it all together and now I understand everything and it's working perfectly, you'll never be of service to anybody because that will simply never happen.
Right.
Even Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane had his moment of, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Right.
So or on the cross, if you please. So there's no time in our life, as I understand it, when we are complete, done, and perfect. So we can't wait for that moment. So the best time, however, for us to move out into the world and to offer our service, to offer our gift, is the time when we realize, there is a difference there. Some people simply don't realize that they're not done.
Right.
That there's more that they could do, that there's a higher place to go, that there's a grander reason for life itself.
Right.
I wrote a book a couple of years ago called The Only Thing That Matters, and I love the first paragraph of that book. The first paragraph of that book says, 98% of the world's people are spending 98% of their time on things that don't matter.
Yeah.
When we realize that, then we know we're ready to be of true service to the world because we have understood at last what we're doing here, what our purpose in life is. See, as a young man, I grew up thinking that life was about get the girl, get the car, get the job, get the house, get the kids, get the better job, get the better car, get the better house, get the better spouse, get the better spouse, get the better spouse. I did all of that a number of times. Multiple marriages, multiple jobs, multiple locations, just moving around all the players in the game and all the pieces on the playing board, trying to make everything come together in a way that made sense to my soul, and it never did.
Right.
Until I was finally brought to a place where everything was taken away from me. As most people know who've understood my story, the bottom dropped out of my life when I had an automobile accident in which I broke my neck, and the doctors told me, you really should have died there. Only one person out of 1,000 does not die when they have a broken neck, or at least wind up paralyzed, and you escaped both. How is that possible? It was really a miracle of physiology. But it did take a year and a half or two for me to heal from that broken neck. And in that year and a half, I found myself living on the streets because I lost my job, lost my income, my relationship had already ended, and I was just without any resources whatsoever. And I wound up walking the streets, living outside in the weather for 1 week shy or 2 weeks shy of 1 year.
Wow.
And
I mean, I know that about you, and to hear you tell the story always breaks my heart open.
well, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because it brought me into touch with what is really important. Yeah. Is it really about get the car, get the job, get the house, get the kids, get the grandkids? Those are wonderful things to do. Not making that wrong. But if that's the primary focus, the primary purpose of my life, then I've simply misunderstood who I am, where I am, why I am where I am on this planet, and rearrange my whole priorities about what I intend to do about that. So what that year on the street did for me was it rearranged my priorities abruptly and massively. And when I removed myself from that place, from that experience, I entered into life. It was almost like, really, to use a well-known term, almost like being reborn. Yeah. I had a second life. From the age of 50 forward, I'm now 71, I've had an entirely different kind of life, because finally at the age of 50, I understood some things that I didn't understand before. But you know what? People shouldn't have to wait until they're half a century old in order to gather this information, which is why I'm so grateful to you to allow me to come on this program with you, and why I've been so happy to travel the world as I've done to share this. I don't want people to have to wait until they're 50 to understand some of these things. What a different world we would have if children, when they were 7, 8, 9, and 10, could understand these kinds of things that we'll be talking about today. Yeah.
Right. And it is absolutely my honor to have you. And, I feel like the people that gather in this tribe are dedicated to service. And as we build our businesses and as we learn marketing, we get caught up. It's easy to get caught up in the strategies and the tools and the sort of bigger, better, faster, stronger. And for me, a continual return to being of service and being in God's energy has been what has really carried me to the place where I am now. And I feel like it can be a delicate path to walk when we're being barraged as entrepreneurs with all of these strategies, and yet in our heart we know we're meant to be of service. Can you speak to navigating that?
I think it's where the strategies begin. Mm-hmm. That is what they emerge from. Strategies are not unimportant.
Right.
It's good to know what you're trying to do and how you're going to do it and
Right.
when you're going to accomplish it and all those things. But strategies need to be a reflection of a state of being that transcends all strategies.
Right.
So what we want to really find a way to do is to experience all of life, including our business strategies, from a place of beingness rather than a place of doingness. That's what I've learned in my life. So that my first intention, my first requirement, self-requirement for my life is to stay in, first to identify, and then to stay in my sense of who I really am and why I'm really here, and to remove myself from any need for any particular outcome or result. That's been a key for me. If I focus my life on outcomes or results, and I have to see things happen in a certain way by a certain time, or else I think I'm a failure. So come on, guys, we got to get going. I talk to my team. If that becomes the focus of my life, it's going to be very, very difficult for me not to become frustrated, even angry once in a while, disappointed a great deal of the time, and begin to start feeling of myself as a failure because nobody achieves all of the goals exactly when they want to. Again,
Right.
so it's one of those circumstances where we have to understand that we have our eyes on the wrong goal. I was told by God, if there's one thing you don't fully understand about life, is that you're pinpointing the wrong goals. It's not about seeing the growth curve on your chart go a certain distance by a certain day. It's not about achieving a certain income. It's not about any of those physical accomplishments. It's about the accomplishment of your soul, your spirit, if you please, fully self-realizing, understanding who you really are, and then expressing that through the activities, through what I call the doingness functions of your life. But when you first focus on experiencing and expressing through you as you, your true identity as a manifestation of divinity, and that's a huge phrase to use, but to think of yourself as a person who is allowing every single moment of their life to be a staging area, a platform upon which they get to decide what does an expression of divinity look like now. That's the true agenda of the soul. When we seek that agenda to express divinity, to express our true identity through the circumstances and events that present themselves in our daily life, then those circumstances and events themselves, whether it's growing your business or improving your relationship or whatever it might be, improving your health or whatever it might be, then those exterior circumstances tend to take on the shape and the form of the place from which they emerge, that is, a divine, wonderful, blessed form. Somebody, by the way, far more eloquent than I will ever be, put this in far fewer words. He said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you." So when I give people business advice, and I'm asked to do that often, I attend conferences and corporations call me in and what can you tell us here in the boardroom? I tell them in the boardroom, guys, keep your eye on the ball, but make sure you got the right ball that you're looking at. Make sure the target is correct. You need to use your exterior expression of life, your business life, whatever it might be, as simply a tool, simply a platform upon which, simply a means by which you express the next highest version of yourself, the next grandest vision of who you really are. People who operate from that place understand a single important principle of life, and of business for that matter. Your life is not about you. When I've asked God, why doesn't my life work? What have I done wrong? Why must my life be such a continuing series of struggles and challenges? I asked God that question very early in my 3,000-page dialogue, and she said, "Neale, it's very simple. It's really very easy. You think your life is about you, and your life has nothing to do with you. It has to do with everyone else whose life you touch and the way in which you touch it." Now, when I talk to business people around the world, I say the same thing to them about business. If your business is not achieving optimum results, is not going where you wish it to go as fast as you wish it to go, it is probably because you might have set the wrong goals. You need to understand one thing. Your business is not about you. Your career, your livelihood, your business has nothing to do with you. It's about everyone who your business touches and the way in which it touches it. And people who understand that notice that the strategies and the plans and the to-do lists take care of themselves. They just fall into place almost without effort. That is, stuff happens without you even reaching out for it to happen. The phone rings, you get an email, you get an offer from somebody, you get an invitation to speak or to do this or that, and suddenly everything shifts and changes, and you find that your so-called business has nothing to do with your business. See, it's not about being a person who's concerned about profit.
Yes.
It's about being a different kind of prophet.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Being the prophet that comes from beingness and letting the strategies and the marketing tools be just tools, a servant to where you're coming from and who you are and your dedication to really just getting that out into the world. And so often when we go to do that, we run right up against our biggest fears. We're face to face with our biggest fears of visibility and vulnerability and being seen and rejection and what if nobody comes to my workshop? And how do you recommend we keep our hearts open to service even when our fears, our voices of fears are just screaming at us?
To first of all recognize that fear, to allow it to be. You don't try to pretend it's not there. A lot of people say, well, I'm not really afraid. But to just recognize, own it, hold it, grab it, and then to realize that the fear is leading us to nothing. Somebody gave me a great acronym for the word fear a few years ago. FEAR, feeling excited and ready.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that one.
And I love it because it's just a marvelous way to reposition my relationship with the things I fear.
That's fantastic.
Then I go to a second message that I got. This one from not my father in heaven, but from my earthly father. My dad used to say to me all my young life, and it didn't really make sense to me until I was around 45 or 50 years old, but I finally got it. He used to say to me whenever I had any fear about anything, son, what's the worst that can happen? So nobody shows up. So what are people going to walk up to you on the street and throw a pie in your face? Right. Or what do you think is going to happen that's going to be so horrible? So nobody shows up.
Right.
See, you offer a retreat and nobody comes. Okay, so what? Yeah. I mean, that's not going to be the end of your life.
Right.
When we divorce ourselves from the need for a particular result, suddenly the results start showing up without effort because our resistance has dissipated and disappeared. I realize when I do a retreat or a program or a seminar or a workshop or give a speech somewhere, I have no connection whatsoever to the outcome. When my driver is taking me to the next lecture, they pick me up at the airport, my sponsor, and I'm going to the venue, and he says, well, let's see, let me look at my sheet here and see what the attendance is going to be tonight. I said, I don't care. I don't need to know.
Yeah.
Well, we thought you might be interested to know how many tickets we sold. I said, I really don't care. It's not material to me. I don't care if it's 3 people or 300 or 3,000. It's irrelevant to me. People always ask me. I just was asked the other day, "How's your latest book doing?" I said, "I don't know. I've never asked my publisher in all the years to send me a report of book sales. Of course, my financial people, my accountants and so forth get the royalty checks, but I couldn't possibly even tell you how many books I've sold. I don't know, and I don't care because I'm not writing books to sell books. You understand?
Right.
I'm simply writing books as an expression of a place of being that I joyfully and blissfully and lovingly occupy, and out of a deep desire to share for whatever benefit anyone might get from them with as many people as possible. But it doesn't occur to me to worry about how many sales we're going to have or how many people will show up in my workshop. So I'm so divorced from that. Now, I want to make one point clear. A lot of people say, well, of course you are, because you've already made it.
Right.
So it doesn't matter to you.
Right. I was just going to ask you something along those lines.
Yeah, well, I get that all the time. People say to me, well, of course you can be that. You can be that laissez-faire, that blasé about it, because you've already made it. But you know what? Believe it or not, I felt that way at the outset, at the very beginning. See, it's like, what came first, the cart before the horse, or the horse before the chicken? What came first, the chicken or the egg? You see, and the answer is yes.
Right.
they both. You see, the answer is it's a dichotomy.
The answer is just yes.
But I never cared from the very outset. I'm not saying I didn't have any interest. Of course, I was curious, but my curiosity didn't take the form of somehow a desperate need to produce a particular outcome. My only desperate need, if I had one in my life, is this. Each day I ask God this: please, dear God, help me find a way today to demonstrate my oneness with you to demonstrate the gift that divinity has given to all living things, to demonstrate that that which you are flows in me, through me, as me, out to all the world. Provide me with one more opportunity, one more chance today, this day, if this were my last day, if this were my last moment, could I have just one more chance to prove to the world that you exist through my existence?
I can feel that in my body. It's so refreshing.
That's what I would say to anybody about how to improve their relationship, their business life, their health. By the way, especially their health. When you live from this place, your health becomes so remarkably clean and pure.
And it becomes so important. It becomes so important if we are leaders on the planet to let our bodies be the temple of the God that you're talking about.
And that doesn't mean that if you have an illness or a sickness or a disease or a condition that somehow you failed. That's another problem that I have with some people.
Yeah.
There's a whole thought out there in the so-called New Age community. There's a whole idea out there that if there's something that's not perfect with you, not just mentally or emotionally, but physically, especially physically, that somehow you're doing something wrong. You're not getting it. You know, I went to a New Thought church a few years ago, and somebody said, "Neale, how you doing? How you feeling today?" And I said, "You know, it's kind of a tough week. I've had a headache. I think I have a cold coming on. I don't feel so well." And this person said, "Well, why are you creating that?" I said, "I don't know. Why are you creating this?" See, I had to make light of it because I wanted to get that person. I wanted to invite that person. Get off it.
Right.
Relax.
Right.
Give yourself permission to not necessarily have to have everything be perfect, but rather call the way everything is perfect.
Yes.
One of the first messages I received in Conversations with God in book 1 was see the perfection. So I was invited to call what is perfect.
Yes.
And not to resist anything that's going on.
Right.
That, as the Borg like to say, resistance is futile.
Right, right.
So I've learned not to resist, not to, as my lovely friend Byron Katie says, I don't argue with life. I stopped arguing with life. Just loving what is. She wrote a marvelous book, Loving What Is. Boy, did she tap into something important with that book. Love what is, and what is stops resisting you. And if what is going to change in any way, it's going to change out of your ceasing to resist. That's what Dafri John likes to say.
Yeah.
The master Dafri John says, "Cease all againstness." What a wonderful piece of advice in a single sentence.
Wow.
Cease all againstness.
3 words. Cease all againstness. Wow. It's so powerful to get to the heart of that and to hear you talk about releasing ourselves from the expectations in this way that those expectations end up causing resistance to what it is that we really want to accomplish anyway. I mean, I think a lot of people are probably questioning, like, can I really unhook myself from the results if I'm going to have a successful business? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
But if I heard that person say that to me, I would say, whoa, wait a minute, take a step back. Is the purpose of your business to have a successful business? And by the way, by what measure? What is the measuring stick by which you decide what success is?
Yep.
Because if you think that the purpose of your business is to achieve success, then you've missed the whole point, not only of your business, but of your life.
Yep.
So how about we lay down a new yardstick? Let's put a new ruler down. What really is success? Is success achieving completion in the journey of the soul in any given moment of now? Experiencing and expressing the highest aspect of who you really are, whether or not it produces a profit, whether or not it produces a business outcome or a business result. If that's how you achieve success in your life, I promise you, not just your business, but your relationship and every other aspect of your life will suddenly show up as blessed indeed, not just in thought, not just in word, but in deed.
Absolutely beautiful. Beautifully said, eloquently said. And when we can come from that place, we radiate.
It's been my experience. And if you look at people who occupy that place a great deal, I know that I'm one of them. That's the path that I'm choosing to take. It's my target. It's my goal. I wouldn't claim to be in that place, but there are people on this planet who are. The great Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who I've had the pleasure of meeting and co-presenting with, people like the Dalai Lama and others, by the way, not necessarily huge, enormous global figures, but we've all known people like that in our lives who walk their path that way. When you are in the presence of such a person, you feel that radiation, you feel that glow, and then we sit back and try to figure out, what do they know that I don't know? You know, what have they somehow grasped that I have not fully grasped? And that's what we're talking about here. And what they've grasped is they've understood first their true identity. They've embraced the notion that they are in fact sacred spiritual essences, beings, individuations of that which is divinity itself. Then they've understood where they are, that they're living in the realm of relativity, and then they've understood why are they there? Why are we in physical life? Is it about get the guy, get the girl, get the car, get the job? Or is it about something much larger? See, let me put it to you in direct terms. Most people have to make a decision sooner or later in their life. Who am I? Am I simply a biological creature? Am I just a physical entity, a chemical essence that lives, breathes, dies, and that's it? And maybe that is who I am. I don't know. You have to decide for yourself. Or is it possible, just possible, that I'm larger than that I'm a spiritual entity having a body and a mind, but that I'm not my mind and I'm not my body. I'm just that which has a body and has a mind. If we decide that that's true, you know, Neale, that's true, I really am a spiritual entity with a body and a mind, then we needs must ask the next logical question. Why? Why do I have a body and a mind?
Right.
Why would I come to this physical environment if I'm a spiritual entity, unless I had a spiritual purpose and a sacred reason? And I promise you that you do. I promise you as well that your spiritual sacred reason has nothing to do with the bottom line of your business.
Um, We're going to wrap up in just a few minutes. And the last question I have for you, Neale, is when I'm in your presence, I'm with you. I get it. And in the presence of other spiritual teachers, and when I go to yoga, and when I meditate, and when I'm dropped in to myself, everything that you're saying resonates as truth. And then I have these moments in the doing of my business where I lose track of the beingness. And I'm wondering if you can just help all of us who are on this entrepreneurial journey. There is a reality of life for some of us listening. There's bills to pay.
I have bills to pay.
I know you do. And so what I'm wondering is how do we continue to find our way back to that place of beingness when the doingness feels off balance?
First pray.
Yeah.
You know, talk to God. You use whatever word you want to use. Call it prayer, meditation, visualization, connection, you know, whatever word you want to use. But stay connected to the aspect of divinity that you find most comfortable to conceive of in your life. That's number one. Don't let yourself feel that you're over here in a sense all alone. It's me against the world, you know, me against the world. Don't let yourself feel that's number one. Right. So I advocate that we do a ritual if you can. Find a way. If it only takes 10 minutes a day, but find a way to take 10 minutes a day and stay connected. One of the ways that I like to do it is a 10-second meditation. I like to do 6 times a day a 10-second meditation. It's a medication too, by the way, medication for the soul. But a 10-second meditation, and it takes 10 seconds, as I said, and you can do it 6 times a day. And what that looks like in my life is that somewhere in the middle of my day, I'll just stop in the middle of whatever I'm doing. Maybe I'm washing dishes, maybe I'm doing my business, maybe I'm on the computer, maybe I'm walking down the street, whatever. I could be in the middle of a sentence. Stop. just stop. Stop it. And reconnect with who you really are and why you're really here. 1 minute a day in 6-10-second intervals will change your life. If you want a tool that is such a powerful, powerful tool, especially when you're feeling hectic and really, really desperately trying to make something occur, or tuned into life at a level where it feels like you've separated yourself from your real identity and your real purpose. In the middle of all of it, sometimes it might be right in the middle of a word or in the middle of a sentence. Invite God back in. And then step number 2. Use your life to share what you know to be so with everyone whose life you touch. The most important message I received in conversations with God was, be the source. Do not be a seeker. Be the source. Therefore, if you feel these things are true when you're in the presence of someone who's saying them, and I've had the same experience that you've had, sweetheart, I've had the same experience, I've been around some real masters in my life, and I think, oh wow, they really get it. I can feel it, I'm with them, I'm right there. And then I walk away, and 2 days later I'm in the middle of my computer business, I'm on the computer doing my thing, and I, like everybody else, I have those moments when I fade away and I think, that it's all an illusion. I fall into the illusion of life. But then I remember these 2 things, that 10-second meditation, which brings me back, and then I remember to do what God invited me to do, share that, whatever I want in my life. Now listen to this. Do I want more abundance? Do I want more business success? Do I want more customers? Do I want more health? Do I want more happiness? What is it I want more of in my life? Whatever I want more of in my life, be the source of it. 3 powerful words. Be the source. Be the source of it in the life of another. For that which flows through you sticks to you. And when you experience yourself as the source, you experience that you already have that, and you thought you didn't, but you do. And as you enlarge the life experience of another, you necessarily enlarge the life experience of your holy and sacred self. Those are the 2 tools that I would give to anybody who wants to know, how can I get back to center? How can I get back to that awareness that I had when I was in the space of that teacher, or that when I was in that workshop or that retreat? How can I get back to that? Bring someone else to where you want to be, and you'll find yourself there as well.
I love that. That puts new meaning to one of the assignments that I give my clients, which is that when they're struggling the most, when they feel the most stuck, instead of reaching out for help, I give them this assignment for 1 month to reach out to somebody they can give to.
Exactly.
And I didn't really understand why I wanted them to do it, other than that I've had that experience where I've been the lowest of the low and somebody's called me for help and I've found a way to give to them and I am back connected.
Yes, and the reason is, there's a metaphysical reason for it. The spiritual logic is this. All that has happened is not that you don't have these resources, you've simply forgotten that you have them.
Exactly.
And by sharing your resources, whatever they might be, maybe it's just giving a dime or a quarter or $1 to a man on the street who's got his hand out with a little tin cup. Maybe it's advice that you give to a friend, whatever it might be. By sharing with someone else of the wonderful abundance that you have now part of yourself inherently, you give yourself a re-experience of it. You think to yourself, wow, I do have that. And you return to yourself by returning others to their self. Again, this is not new age stuff. Yeah. Listen to this. This is not new thought philosophy. Somebody very wise once put it in a single sentence. Do unto others as you would have it done unto you. It's really quite simple, and there's nothing new about it.
And when you forget, if you forget and you get yourself caught up in the doing or the stress, you might just stop in the middle of a sentence and reconnect. I love that you did that. And I love that you did it twice.
I only have 4 more times to go today.
The first time you did it, I have to be honest, I was like, oh, wait, did the screen freeze? Is he there? And then I had this awareness and I could feel you. I could feel where you had gone. And everything just opened up.
Life is really very simple. One day I'm going to write a book. Life is so simple. Why does everyone make it so complicated? But of course, I did it myself for 50 years. Really, I have to be aware and stay in touch with the fact that for 50 years of my life, I also saw life as this complicated milieu of incompletion and challenge, suffering and sadness. Even in my best moments, I never could feel totally complete and totally, completely happy. So, I want people to not have to go through that. Let's see if we can shorten the time period. And let's teach this to our children. Most of all, let's find a way to share this with people who are 7, 8, 10, and 12. And bring them into their adult years in a whole different way than we were brought into ours.
Absolutely.
That will change the world in one generation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have a lot of parents on the line today and in the community today. And we have a ton of clients in our tribe and who are actually focusing on helping parents and helping parents build healthier relationships and helping parents cultivate their children in the way that you're talking about. And so I'm going to make extra sure to send this interview out with a note for parents to share this wisdom with children and the teachers. We have such a responsibility in a beautiful way to leave this planet in the way that we can. And it's one of the reasons why I know you wanted to join us today, Neale, amidst all of the other invitations that you do receive, because we are supporting the rainforest with this 3-day event. And you'll hear about that more on the next interview. The thing that I love to do online is to gather people with the intention of learning and growing and giving back. And I know that's one of the reasons why you're here. And for those of you that would like to continue the evolutionary entrepreneur training and also donate to the rainforest and support the lungs of our planet with just $25, you're going to find out about that during the next section. And Neale, from the bottom of my heart, this has been, in many ways, the most powerful interview I've ever gotten to have the honor of participating in, and just the simplicity that you bring to your message, I know will be living with me for a long time.
I'm glad we had a chance to be together. Thank you for the invitation. It's very generous of you, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We love you. Please post your final comments for Neale on the Facebook page, and we'll be sending him some thank yous so that he knows how much we appreciate him as a tribe. Come back in just a minute or two. We're going to be here with Brett Gregory, who is a spiritual entrepreneur in his own right, has had his own spiritual awakening, and has found a way to get on social media from really a place of beingness and use some of the social media strategies to take this love that you're feeling in your heart right now and use the internet as a tool to get that message out into the world without disconnecting from that God self that we are. Neale, thank you so much for helping us understand the nature of what it means to truly be a prophet and the meaning of prophet and the oneness that surrounds us on this journey as we channel our divine message for our clients and for our children and for our friends and families and for the world.
Thank you, sweetheart, and thank you as well on behalf of the people of the planet for all that you're doing. You're bringing a great gift to many, many people. It's not going unnoticed. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you. Bye, everyone. We'll be back in just a minute with Brett, so don't go anywhere. Grab a cup of tea, get comfy, get cozy, and join us in just about a minute. We'll be back.